Zhang Yi entered the exhibition hall nonchalantly, following the map to the section dedicated to Huaxu Kingdom artifacts. Even in broad daylight, the museum was bustling with visitors, many of whom were seen discussing the exhibits in detail. Zhang Yi walked forward at a steady pace. Many of these artifacts were unfamiliar to him, yet he instantly recognized their Huaxu Kingdom origins. Bronzeware, ink paintings, and bound volumes of ancient texts, none of these belonged to Neon's cultural palette. Admiring them through the glass, Zhang Yi felt an urge to take them all away. But this impulse was fleeting. In this post-apocalyptic world, the vast majority of these artifacts held no practical value. As the saying goes, antiques in times of peace, gold in times of turmoil. In this age of chaos, they were dispensable to most. The immediate priority was locating the specific target of their journey. As for the rest, they could take them along the way. Zhang Yi made his way through the Huaxu Hall, meticulously searching for the target artifact. To his surprise, he soon found Wang Shuren's Heart Sutra in a display area housing ancient texts. It lay quietly within its glass case, as if having waited centuries for descendants to bring it back to its homeland. Zhang Yi slowly approached, staring intently at the handwritten traditional Huaxu letters. "Is this it?" He lowered his head, squinting to examine the intricate patterns. His spiritual perception wasn't potent enough to sense the lingering traces of centuries-old supernatural energy through the glass. Just as Zhang Yi was bent over examining the ancient text on Heart Sutra, a figure abruptly materialized beside him. "Are you also interested in the ancient culture of Huaxu Kingdom?" No one could appear beside Zhang Yi without him noticing. As a space ability mutant, he was exceptionally sensitive to movements in his surroundings. In fact, possessing the spiritual domain, he could grasp every subtle movement within the entire museum in his mind. This was precisely why he hadn't chosen to directly take the ancient text on Heart Sutra. Zhang Yi turned his head with feigned surprise, seeing a tall, slender clerk in a gray suit and gold-rimmed glasses standing beside him. His hair was neatly parted in a 3:7 ratio. He was meticulously examining the ancient text in the display case, adjusting his glasses as he spoke to Zhang Yi. "This guy isn't an ordinary human." That thought immediately flashed through Zhang Yi's mind. In principle, the difference between a mutant and an ordinary person could only be discerned when abilities were displayed. But as a battle-hardened, powerful mutant, Zhang Yi could spot the presence of most other mutants in a crowd at a glance. In one word, perception. Those possessing extraordinary abilities carried a distinct aura. The bearer might not notice it, but others could sense it through subtle differences. What mutated humans struggle to conceal is the arrogance born from their superiority over ordinary beings, and the unmistakable aura of lethal intent forged through countless battles. Of course, this assumes the other party isn't deliberately masking their presence. Someone like Zhang Yi, who constantly masquerades as a harmless, invisible presence, is an absolute master of disguise. Zhang Yi's expression remained utterly unchanged, though his mind had already confirmed the identity of the person before him. If it wasn't one of those night duty puppets, nor a member of the 100 Demon Night Parade who only operated after dark, then there was only one possibility for the person before him, a member of the Royal Demon Court that now ruled Edo. This was likely the first member of the Royal Demon Court Zhang Yi had ever encountered. He remained unreadable. Indeed, the ancient Eastern realm, their culture is truly fascinating. The bespectacled man folded his arms, adopting a studious air as he remarked indifferently, "The ancient Huaxu Kingdom possessed a civilization that led the world for hundreds, even thousands of years. Their culture has always been a model for us to study. Unfortunately, in recent centuries, their cultural achievements have been rather lackluster. They've been stuck wallowing in fantasies of the past." Zhang Yi sneered inwardly, but his lips curved into a smile as he replied, "Exactly. When it comes to modern culture, it's our neon country that leads the world." The bespectacled man nodded with a smile. "That said, their historical artifacts are genuinely fascinating and hold significant research value. Preserving these treasures in our neon region allows us to better promote and preserve them. Otherwise, most items in this exhibition hall would likely have vanished long ago." A look of pride flashed across the bespectacled man's face as he spoke. A barely perceptible cold smile played at the corners of Zhang Yi's lips. What are you so proud of? These are things stolen by bandits. The bespectacled man turned, his words still flowing. These ancient texts are far too profound, and written entirely in traditional characters. You wouldn't understand them. If you wish to grasp Huashu culture, you might need to start with simpler, more accessible things. The bespectacled man continued walking forward as he spoke. Zhang Yi glanced at the copy of the Heart Sutra resting in the cabinet. Without hesitation, he followed the bespectacled man. Oh? Is that so? Sir, I humbly request your guidance. The bespectacled man walked through the Huashu exhibition hall, hands behind his back, exuding the air of a researcher. He stopped before a tall display case and pointed. For an enthusiast like you, this is the simplest, most direct artifact to grasp Huashu culture. Zhang Yi followed his gesture. The moment he saw the artifact in the display case, his pupil involuntarily contracted slightly. In recent years, very few things had managed to surprise him like this. Yet he was certain that any citizen of the Huashu kingdom would react the same way, or even more dramatically, upon first sight. For within that display case, protected by layer upon layer of safeguards, lay a golden dragon. It was no sculpture or artifact, but a lifelike specimen. Not large, only about the size of a palm, Zhang Yi's keen eyes could clearly discern its form perfectly matching ancient legends. Its entire body was golden, with a slender form featuring 4 clawed limbs and horns atop its head. Due to its immense age from ancient times, the claws and head showed somewhere, yet its dragon form remained remarkably intact. Had he seen it elsewhere, Zhang Yi would have doubted it was anything more than a crude craft item. Yet here it was, displayed in the National Museum de Liangdu in Edo. Moreover, Zhang Yi recalled seeing news reports about this artifact before. Seeing it with his own eyes now delivered an even more profound shock. The bespectacled man seemed quite pleased with Zhang Yi's reaction. Well? Isn't it fascinating? This is the dragon, from Huashu legends. In their culture, they regard it as their ancestor. The Huashu kingdom people claim their ancestors were dragons. Isn't that intriguing? They're obviously two-legged primates, yet they regard reptiles as their ancestors. Zhang Yi pointed at the golden little dragon and asked, but shouldn't this be a legendary creature? This thing right here just looks like a model to me. It can't possibly be real, right? The bespectacled man retorted, don't be ridiculous. This is explicitly documented in historical records. He acquired it at great expense from the very lands of the Huashu kingdom. The bespectacled man shrugged. Once, the existence of these mythical creatures seemed utterly preposterous. But in today's world, all manner of bizarre things appear. His voice suddenly deepened as he adjusted his glasses and turned his gaze toward the distance. Just like the gods of myth, the ghosts and spirits of the 100 Demon Night Parade, or the bizarre creatures described in the classic of mountains and seas. In certain extraordinary eras, their existence ceases to feel abnormal. Zhang Yi remarked indifferently, like now, for instance. Exactly. The bespectacled man nodded. Zhang Yi took a deep breath, his eyes fixed intently on the golden dragon, no larger than the palm of his hand. In his mind, images of the creatures he had seen beneath the Qinling mountain abyss surfaced. That white being, possessing a form nearly that of a dragon yet capable of taking human shape, the creature officially known as White Dragon. As Zhang Yi was deep in thought, a voice sounded again from nearby. Maeda, instead of wasting time here chatting with the seed, you'd be better off going to the side of the Imperial Majesty to receive instruction. A woman approached from behind, tall and slender, with thick, jet-black hair cascading down her back. Her hair reached her lower back, and her large eyes were as dark as ink, with pupils occupying 80% of their surface, a proportion usually only seen in manga. Yet in real life, this appearance carried an eerie beauty. She wore a black leather jacket that perfectly accentuated her curvaceous figure. The low-heeled leather boots on her feet clicked rhythmically against the floor, click-clack, click-clack. Seed people? Zhang Yi found the term intriguing. He thought of those night duty puppets. In this room, aside from a few members of the Royal Demon Court, most were that kind of puppet. But during daylight hours, calling them puppets wasn't quite accurate. Zhang Yi had personally verified they were indistinguishable from ordinary people, capable of emotion, capable of injury and bleeding. So what exactly were these so-called seed people? The bespectacled man, Wichiro Maeda, glanced back at her. Miss Purgatory Star, what brings you here? Seeking me out? Purgatory Star strode toward Wichiro Maeda with her long legs, not even glancing at Zhang Yi beside her, as if he didn't exist. Imperial Majesty instructed me to inform you that Edo seems unsettled lately. You'd be wise to stop spending all your time in the museum. Take your people and patrol the outskirts of Edo. Wichiro Maeda frowned. Are you implying mutants have invaded? Could it be those Columbia bastards? Purgatory Star shook her head. We have no intelligence at present. However, all of Edo lies under the Imperial Majesty's watchful eye. He senses a subtle shift in the atmosphere. Wichiro Maeda curled his lips in a dismissive smile. Who dares approach Edo Castle these days? Even Columbia's elite mutant forces would be sent to their deaths. Zhang Yi's heart stirred. What exactly did this man mean? Where did they get the confidence to stand against Columbia's mutant forces? Consider this, in terms of national power, Columbia and Huashu Kingdom were evenly matched. Destroying a nation like Neon might not be effortless, but it certainly wouldn't require immense effort. Unless something extraordinary occurred. Could it be connected to the 100 Demon Night Parade appearing in Edo? Could it be that Neon has colluded with some mysterious civilization? Such thoughts gave Zhang Yi a headache. Even the weakest mysterious civilization he'd encountered, the Nash Kingdom, possessed power capable of shaking the entire Huashu Kingdom. If Neon were to join forces with a mysterious civilization, it would indeed become a formidable force to be reckoned with. In that case, their operational plan would likely prove far more difficult to execute. Zhang Yi's gaze fell upon the dragon specimen in the display case and the copy of the Heart Sutra. After a moment's contemplation, he decided against taking them with him for now. The situation was delicate. The journey to Neon proved far more complex than anticipated. Zhang Yi sensed that Deng Shintong was undoubtedly concealing something from him. Beside him, Purgatory Star and Wichiro Maeda continued their conversation obliviously, paying no heed to the tourists passing by. This crappy Daliandu Museum is just a dumping ground for relics from the old era. There's absolutely no need to waste time here. Maeda, if you have so much time, you'd be better off spending it on Mount Fudo. That's where the things we should truly protect lie. After hearing Purgatory Star's words, Wichiro Maeda adjusted his glasses, his gaze visibly sharpening. Woman, you simply don't understand the importance of preserving the embers of civilization. These things before us are the treasures of our human culture. He spread his arms wide, as if to embrace the entire Daliandu Museum. If we fail to carry the flame of civilization forward, the continuation of the human race will be nothing but a hollow shell of barbarism. Utterly meaningless. Purgatory Star covered her head in exasperation. Damn it. Why did they make a blockhead like you an executive of the Royal Demon Court? Wichiro Maeda replied coldly, becoming a mutant was merely a whim of mine. In any case, I've delivered Imperial Majesty's orders. You know exactly what to do next. After speaking, Purgatory Star turned and strode away with a confident swagger. Her physique was impeccable, clearly honed by years of training, especially her calves, taut and powerful like a cheetah's. This alone indicated she was a master of close combat, possessing exceptional physical prowess. Her tone suggested she was also a high-ranking member of the Royal Demon Court, and a confidant of the evil demon. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes, turning his head away to feign disinterest in their conversation as he continued examining the exhibits before him. Wichiro Maeda shot a disgusted glare in the direction Purgatory Star had departed, then turned back to Zhang Yi. Standing over a meter away, he spoke again in a detached tone. Living in a world like this is utterly disgusting. Had I lived in peaceful times, I should have been an outstanding researcher. Zhang Yi glanced at him but remained silent. He wasn't entirely sure what Wichiro Maeda meant by the term seed people. Better to say less and avoid revealing his true identity. Maeda Yuichiro sighed. Talking to you seems pointless anyway. You merely exist as a seed, day and night, trapped in endless cycles of rebirth. Perhaps that too is a kind of happiness. He murmured, head bowed in thought. These words contained a wealth of information. Zhang Yi's mind raced. Living as a seed? What kind of seed? The seed of human reproduction? Or something else entirely? And what did that last part mean, day and night, immersed in endless cycles? Soon, these clues led Zhang Yi to a bold hypothesis. He looked at Wichiro Maeda, his face full of confusion. Hey, old man. What did you mean by that? Wichiro Maeda gazed at Zhang Yi with a meaningful look, sighed, and patted his shoulder. Nothing. Even if you knew the truth, you'd forget it completely after a short while. Honestly, sometimes I envy people like you. At least you don't have any worries. After saying this, he walked past Zhang Yi toward another part of the museum. After Wichiro Maeda and Purgatory Star departed, Zhang Yi cast a lingering glance at the original copy of the Heart Sutra displayed in the showcase before turning toward a secluded corner of the Daliandu Museum. Once he confirmed the area was deserted, he promptly left the premises. Through the communication channel, he sent a message to everyone, instructing them to assemble. The original location of the Heart Sutra has been confirmed. Do not act alone for now. We move at nightfall. Zhang Yi then designated a meeting spot. Soon after, Deng Shintong and the others arrived. Deng Shintong asked, "How's the security situation inside the museum?" This was Edo, the headquarters of the Royal Demon Court. The Daliandu Museum, situated in the heart of Edo, was constantly under the watchful eye of the Royal Demon Court. It couldn't possibly be without defenses. Zhang Yi replied calmly, "There are indeed some individuals inside who appear quite capable. If we make a move, it will inevitably alert the Royal Demon Court." Deng Shintong nodded. "There's no need to stir up trouble. As long as we confirm the original Heart Sutra is there, we can sneak in tonight and retrieve it. Then we'll wait for nightfall." It was late afternoon, dusk would descend soon. Soon, they would witness that eerie 100, Demon Night parade once more. Dusk deepened. Within Edo Castle, several unfamiliar figures suddenly appeared today. They wore uniform suits, wielding swords, jit, or firearms. They were members of the Royal Demon Court, Neon's most formidable organization of mutants. Ever since the evil demon defeated the Pelican and Azumo factions, the Royal Demon Court had become the true rulers of Neon. Every member stationed in Edo was an elite force of extraordinary power. Even the lowest-ranking patrol members possessed a minimum ability index of 6,000 points. Snowflakes drifted steadily through the Ginza streets as a dozen Royal Demon Court members, clad in black suits and wielding long swords, marched at a measured pace down the center of the road. The pedestrians who passed by cast curious, startled glances, assuming these figures were merely cosplay enthusiasts. Yet undeniably, these modern warriors carried an aura of decisive lethality. Several girls cast curious glances at the passing warriors. When their eyes fell upon the leader, a man with silver curls, their cheeks flushed involuntarily. One girl mustered her courage, trudging through the snow to approach them. "Hi. Could we exchange contact info?" She boldly looked at the curly-haired man and held out her phone. The warriors behind him exchanged puzzled glances before turning to the perpetually lazy-looking fellow. Their reactions suggested this wasn't the first time they'd encountered such a situation. The curly-haired warrior didn't take the phone. Hands in his pockets, he spoke indifferently to the girl, "Young lady, it's getting late. You should hurry home. Your parents must be worried." "Huh? You won't give it to me? If you exchange contact info with me, I can accompany you on your park stroll." The girl pleaded, refusing to give up. The curly-haired warrior shook his head. "Sorry, I'm not interested in flat-chested girls. The remark caused the girl's expression to darken instantly. She spat out a furious pervert, before storming off. The curly-haired warrior didn't seem to care. He merely scratched his head and gazed up at the dark clouds gathering over Ginza. Nightfall is approaching. A bald warrior behind him spoke up, "Lord Narumi, we should hide. Those creatures lurking in the shadows attack anyone they see." Captain of the 1st Division of the Royal Demon Court, Narumi Shuji, lowered his gaze, a grave expression crossing his face. But the Imperial Majesty said, "Edo hasn't been peaceful lately." His hand pressed against the long sword Kiku Ikemanji Zetsubu at his waist, his gaze as sharp as a drawn sword. "Last night, I sensed a powerful presence sweeping over Edo." Shock spread across the faces of his team members. Could it be? An enemy has appeared? Edo Castle now stands under our Royal Demon Court's rule, as impenetrable as an iron barrel. Add the eerie phenomenon of the 100, Demon Night Parade, any enemy appearing here faces only death. Narumi Shuji glanced back at them and barked, "Don't underestimate others, you bastards." Yes. Yes, Captain. This world has become unimaginable. Neon isn't a nation powerful enough to ignore everything. The Royal Demon Court's current strength comes at a heavy price. Narumi Shuji covered his forehead with his right hand. May the Great Spirit Amaterasu bless this land and its people. After 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Edo's sky rapidly darkened. As if by mutual agreement, black clouds swept across the horizon like a vast black cloth being swiftly pulled from the distant sky, enveloping the entire expanse. The once vibrant city of Edo transformed into a ghost town in an instant. No trace of pedestrians remained on the streets. Even the members of the Royal Demon Court who ruled here swiftly retreated into the darkness, daring not to roam the streets. Zhang Yi sat in the small restaurant, observing the owner and waitstaff who had already entered a state of standby. He stood up. "Let's go." Everyone rose to their feet, preparing to enter the Daliandu Museum to reclaim what belonged to Huashu Kingdom. This distance was precisely what one space shuttle could cover. Zhang Yi opened the dual-dimensional gate and stepped through. The group filed in one after another, entering the museum. Completely different from daylight hours, the lights were now extinguished, leaving the place eerily silent. The ancient artifacts displayed in the glass cases added an eerie, terrifying atmosphere to the space. This posed no problem for the group. The night vision function of their combat suits activated, allowing them to see clearly in the darkness. "Follow me." Zhang Yi strode forward, crossing the vast corridor and heading straight for the Huashu section. The others followed closely behind. The uneven footsteps echoed through the silent museum, sending a chill down one's spine, as if fearing they might awaken some mysterious presence. But Zhang Yi understood this feeling stemmed from the 100, Demon Night Parade roaming the Edo streets after nightfall. Therefore, they had to hurry and secure their target. Meanwhile, thick fog had already risen over Edo City. Within the shroud of mist, monstrous, grotesque creatures began marching along the streets from the city center, as if patrolling their domain. Suddenly, as they passed the Daliandu Museum, several of the demons turned their heads to look in this direction. Thick gray mist began swirling toward the Daliandu Museum, gathering more and more supernatural beings. Even Edo's grandest museum seemed insignificant amidst this surging tide of demons. Inside the Daliandu Museum, Zhang Yi swiftly led the group to the display case housing the Heart Sutra. Upon seeing the ancient text, Uncle Yu, Fatty Su, and the others relaxed, smiles spreading across their faces. They hadn't expected this mission to be completed so effortlessly. They couldn't wait to leave this damned place. Zhang Yi extended his right hand, shattering the display case. The Heart Sutra flew into his grasp. At that very moment, the sound of windows and doors being smashed outside the museum reached them. Crash! Tempered glass offered no defense against the giant ghosts, who sensed the scent of living blood. Their blood-curdling howls echoed as they slithered rapidly toward Zhang Yi and his companions. "Damn it! Those ghostly things are coming. Boss, we gotta get out of here." Fatty Sue exclaimed urgently. Zhang Yi looked down at the ancient text of the Heart Sutra in his hands, flipping through its pages casually. But what lay before him was nothing but blank paper. Not a single word was recorded within. How could this be? It's fake. Liang Yu's eyes widened in disbelief that they had found nothing but a counterfeit. Zhang Yi's expression, however, showed little fluctuation. Not entirely unexpected. Liang Yu lifted her head, about to ask Deng Shintong what was going on. But she suddenly realized Deng Shintong and Bai Chunyu had vanished from their spots. Roar! The ghosts let out eerie cries, already rushing impatiently toward Zhang Yi and the others. Zhang Yi didn't even glance at them. He pressed his index and middle fingers together, twisting them forward like turning a key. Divine Realm Netherworld Cleansing. In an instant, an overwhelming force erupted at the very center of the demon horde, violently compressing them all together. Masses of flesh were brutally crushed, black blood oozing out like juice, staining the floor of the Daliandu Museum pitch black. Zhang Yi turned his gaze toward the distance. Deng Shintong and Bai Chunyu approached another display case, swiftly removing the entire exhibit. Inside that display case lay a small golden dragon. So this was your true objective? Zhang Yi remarked calmly. Deng Shintong carefully stowed the little dragon into his tactical backpack. He looked at Zhang Yi, an apologetic smile touching his lips. My apologies, Zhang Yi. There was something I didn't inform you about beforehand. But to me, this holds greater value. Amber had once told him that the mysterious artifact in the Daliandu Museum wasn't the original manuscript of Wang Shoren's Heart Sutra, but this enigmatic little golden dragon. In other words, Deng Shintong had concealed the truth from Zhang Yi from the start, using him to create an opportunity to obtain this golden dragon. For Deng Shintong, this might hold the key to his advancement to Epsilon. Zhang Yi smiled faintly, utterly unconcerned, casually tossing the fake copy of the Heart Sutra onto the ground. Now, I understand your true purpose. But I regret to inform you of something. This Heart Sutra is a fake. And that golden dragon specimen you obtained, do you really think it's genuine? Zhang Yi's words instantly froze the smile on Deng Shintong's face. Especially Zhang Yi's expression, devoid of any surprise, made Deng Shintong realize something in an instant. You knew all along these things were fake. I couldn't confirm it earlier, but I made preparations for this possibility. Zhang Yi stated calmly. Not everything displayed in museums is genuine, especially sufficiently precious artifacts. They're typically replaced with substitutes for exhibition. The genuine articles were either stored in impenetrable vaults or had long since become private collections of influential figures. As Zhang Yi and Deng Shintong spoke, the 100 ghosts he had just vanquished began to stir. The black bloodstains on the floor vanished as the specters reappeared within the museum, snarling and charging toward Zhang Yi and his companions. Deng Shintong felt a bitter laugh rise in his chest. He had thought his scheme had succeeded, yet everything had remained within Zhang Yi's calculations. Actually, I intended to explain everything to you once we returned. I would have shared the research findings on this golden dragon with you too. He explained. Zhang Yi merely gave him a faint glance, offering no reply. Everyone harbors self-interest. Since he hadn't disclosed it initially, Deng Shintong clearly intended to keep the core secrets to himself. Never mind. Let's leave this place first. Zhang Yi said indifferently as he activated the dimensional gate. These ghosts were fundamentally impossible to kill, so wasting time here was pointless. Any matters could be discussed upon their return. But just as Zhang Yi activated the dimensional gate, preparing to lead his men out, an old, mischievous voice echoed in everyone's ears. The roly-poly has fallen. In an instant, Zhang Yi's body felt as if it were being held fast by an unseen force, leaving him utterly immobilized. He wasn't alone. Everyone present found themselves trapped in a state of complete paralysis. The vengeful spirits let out piercing howls. Hundreds, perhaps thousands, of them charged toward Zhang Yi and his companions with savage ferocity. Their eyes burned with a greedy, bloodthirsty light, a desire to gnaw every last bone clean. Everything under heaven. At the critical moment, Zhang Yi activated his dimensional gate, blocking the path of the malevolent spirits. A horde of spirits entered his dimensional gate and vanished instantly. Those behind paused just outside the portal's perimeter, yet their eyes remained fixed on Zhang Yi and his companions. Unnoticed, the entire museum had been completely overrun by ghosts and monsters. Even outside the museum, vast numbers continued pouring in. The tiny humans stood in the museum's center, Zhang Yi's invisible dimensional gate acting like a barrier, holding the horde at bay. At such close range, they could see the hideous, terrifying faces of the demons. But what preoccupied Zhang Yi most was the entity that had just unleashed its power, immobilizing everyone.